as an artist, it's one thing to make the artwork, but it's a whole other thing to take that artwork and put it out there for people to experience and interact with. And I can guarantee to you, no matter where you put your artwork, whether it's online or in an exhibition, you're going to get an opinion. And sometimes you're going to get a critique. And sometimes those opinions and critiques, they're not always the easiest ones to receive. I'm wondering, when you've had your work critiqued, what's helped you get the most out of those comments? Because some of them, I think, are more productive than others, but some you can really grow a lot from if you know how to take them in.
Well, for starters, it's the best thing. I know some people who are hesitant to have their work critiqued, but I think that critique is one of the most important processes you can go through as an artist. Because here you are sitting, staring at this piece for however many dozens and dozens of hours. Your view of it is skewed and you need a fresh pair of eyes, for sure. The biggest thing for me is never take anything personal, because a lot of my work is personal and based on my own experiences. But when I put it out to be critiqued, I have to separate myself from the work and, say, okay, well, I've made this thing and this thing might be incomplete or might need a little help. So when somebody says, the color's a little weird, they're not talking about me. Right. I'm not weird. The thing that I made
is weird,
is a little off, maybe.
Separating yourself from the artwork is such an amazing thing to do. And it's such a weight that gets lifted off your shoulders when you finally feel like, okay, I can listen with open ears and no one's talking about me specifically. And that freedom allows you to, I think it makes you just looser in your artwork as well and willing to try more things, because that's just what it is. It's just one piece of work and you're going to continue to make more and more.
Sometimes when a work is really personal to myself, I make a rule that if I am getting it critiqued, that I'm not going to say anything. And I have my notebook and I have my pen and I just listen and I write everything down, because it is really easy to kind of catch on to one little thing that somebody says that they might have misspoke and get defensive about the work. So for me, sometimes if I am dealing with something that's personal and traumatic or sensitive, I'm just not going to engage and I'm just going to listen.
I really do think that listening to a critique, that's something you have to decide to do. I don't think that that's a natural thing that just happens in the process. I think you as an artist have to say to yourself, I'm really going to listen to this. I'm going to absorb everything. I may not agree with it, and I may not think that that's what I should do, but I'm going to at least consider it, and I'm going to give it a shot. Because I think once you start to go on the defensive, it's almost like you've got your ears shut and you can't hear anything anymore. And at that point, it's all over. And I think the other thing to remember is with critiques, you don't have to listen to everything. You don't have to take everything in. You can say, you know what, that was a comment that I think is really going to help. This comment I didn't find so helpful, so I'm not going to listen to that. But if you are combative with the person that's critiquing you, or if you start saying, well, I did that because I really wanted to, it closes the conversation. So to keep that open is very important.
And I like that idea that you don't want to be a passive participant in your own critique. You want to be active and you want to be actively listening. And also, if there's something someone says that you're not clear about, you should ask. Right. So that you can really get the fullest out of what they're saying. Another idea is to treat it as a professional experience. You want to come in and you want to hang up your work straight. You want it to look professional and you want to present it in a way that you're confident and proud of. And even if you're not, you just kind of have to pretend you are for a little bit, so that, because you don't want to be apologetic either. If you start making excuses and apologies for your work before anyone can comment on it, you're really already putting it down, and that makes it not very productive.
It's almost like you're setting yourself up for people to tell you your work is bad, and they haven't even had a chance to formulate their own opinion yet. And I find sometimes things that I think are huge mistakes, nobody else sees. So it's sort of pointless to do that. I mean, one time I went to an artist lecture. This wasn't even in a classroom situation. And the artist got up there and they were about to speak and they started saying, oh, I had so much trouble finding a parking space and I've just been running around all day. I taught back-to-back drawing classes and I'm sorry, I look so frazzled right now. And to this day, I don't even remember what they said after that. That's the only thing I remember is them being frazzled. That's what they called attention. If she hadn't said that, I wouldn't have even thought about it. And instead, that's all I remember.
The critique setting is not about excuses or, apologizing for not having enough done. The critique setting is supposed to be a constructive thing where you can hear comments about what people are seeing in your work to make it better.
I think it's okay to talk about the process. I mean, you could say, for example, when you present a drawing, well, this was the idea I had first. I changed my mind. I felt a little bit indecisive about it. I think that's okay. But I think when it comes down to those really minuscule excuses, like I had somebody tell me that it was the drawing paper that made their drawing that way. I said, really? It's your drawing paper? I don't think so. You're kind of part of this as well. Right. So just to be professional about it, because the advice that I give a lot of students is that no matter where you're presenting your work, whether it's in a high school classroom, whether it's at a high profile gallery in New York City or at a local arts venue, you always present your work the same way. It doesn't matter if 3 people see it, if 1 million people see it, you're always going to show it in its best light. I've had students walk into class where the drawing is torn in half and there's masking tape falling off the sides. It just looks so sloppy. And you notice that. It's such a little thing. It doesn't seem like it's important, but it really is.
Finding that line between advocating for yourself but not being defensive.
That's a fine line.
It's a fine line.
I mean, where is the line?
It's a tough balance to strike, especially when you have something really specific that you're working on. I was working on a series of figurative sculptures once, kind of processing the time my dad passed away. And that was a really visceral experience for me. And I wanted to make it into these figurative sculptures. But one thing that was really, really helpful is that when I put up, at the moment I only had 2, I put these 2 pieces up for critique. I didn't really want to tell people about why I made them. I really wanted to hear their reaction and see what do other people see. Because if I say, this is about losing my dad, then I'm not giving them a chance to experience it.
Well, it's like you're feeding them the answer.
Exactly.
In a way.
And if that's something that I do want viewers to see, it's really important for people to have the time to come to that or not to come to that. Because if somebody came to those figurative sculptures and been like, oh, this must be about your love of ice cream. Okay, I need to figure this out and work on this, right?
But and also just when somebody says that, not to be like, well, no, it's not like it's not that at all, and just say, okay, I see how you might be saying that.
That's why when I present work to be critiqued, I hold as much information as possible.
But I really do think that's up to the artist ultimately.
Yeah, because some people really are okay with that. Some people are not. I think that's more of a case by case. I mean, it sounds like you were able to do that. But some people really do find it more helpful to say exactly what it was if they can handle it. I mean, it's up to the artist to make that decision ultimately. But I think that it's so important to receive critiques because I know when I'm working, I feel like I can't see straight after a few hours. And you start telling yourself that the work is working. You're like, yeah, everybody knows this is about my love of the universe. And then you bring it into class and people are like, well, I thought this was about gender issues. And you're going, no. So it's so important because I think it's so easy for artwork to be misinterpreted. And you need that critique to reset you.